and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to give you a tour of my new Google Sheets grocery store cost comparison spreadsheet. In this video, I'm going to start with a blank template, the way it looks like when you first receive it. If you would like to purchase the template, you can find a link in the description down below. If you don't have the template already and you would prefer to watch a shorter video, I'm going to leave a link to a quick tour in the description down below. So in that video, you can get a general idea of how everything works and how everything is connected. And in this video, I'm going to go into a lot more detail on every single section. So let's get into it. This is what it looks like when you first receive the template. Every single section is completely blank. And we're going to start in the database tab. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by adding a few items over here. So I'm going to scroll to column K where you can find this basic information and item name section. And I'm going to type in a few items just to test the spreadsheet. I suggest that you start with the most expensive stuff. So that's probably going to be personal care items, cleaning items. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a few. And as you can see over here, you also have a section where you can assign a category and a unit. Both are completely optional, but the category will be very useful later on when you want to sort your lists and you want to keep items that belong to the same category together. So initially, this dropdown is empty and you will customize your categories to fit your needs. And this is the place where you're going to do that. And as soon as I start adding categories, you're going to see them appear in your dropdown. So you can either use the dropdown to make the selection or you can start typing and it'll get filtered and you can just use the arrows and press enter on your keyboard to make a quicker selection. So I'm going to add a few categories. And as you can see, every single category that I created is going to be found on every single one of these dropdowns. So I'm going to assign categories and I'm going to add a few more items. So if you're following along in your own template, I suggest that you start small and you start with maybe 10 items so you can test the spreadsheet. And then once you understand how everything works and how everything is connected, you can come back to this tab and keep building your database. So I'm going to add a few more items and I'm going to make sure that I include a couple different categories so you can see how that's going to impact the spreadsheet and the other tabs later on. So I added a few items, I assigned categories to them, and then the unit is completely optional. So depending on the country that you're at, it could be kilograms, it could be pounds, you could do pack, you could do piece, pounds. So you can do whatever you prefer. This is for your own reference. You can use common abbreviations, you can make up your own abbreviations, or you can leave it empty. And now that we have a list of items and we assigned categories to them, we're going to move on to adding costs. And initially these labels up here are empty and they're going to start getting filled out as soon as you start adding stores to compare. So you can compare 2, 3, or 4 stores. The maximum number of stores is 4. And the order in which you add your stores is important. So you're going to start with your preferred store. That can be your favorite one, the one that you visit most often, the one that is closest to your home, for example. And then the second one should be your second preferred store, and then the third and the fourth. So make sure that you pay attention to the order in which you add this, and I'm going to show you why that's important in a moment. So I'm just going to type in a few random store names. And as you can see, as soon as I start typing names in here, you're going to see how they appear over here. Very important, try to keep your names as short as possible. If I were to add, for example, over here, farmers market, if I make it too long, then it's going to get cut off over here. So make sure that your names fit in this section just so we can keep it short throughout the template. So you can abbreviate it however you want. And if it fits in this section over here, then you're good to go. And once you have your store names, you're going to start adding unit costs for each of your items on each of these stores. Now, of course, not all stores sell all items, so it's okay if you don't add a unit cost for absolutely every store, but you need to add at least one. And you're going to see that as soon as you add one unit cost, this highlight over here, the one found in the number, is going to disappear. And this arrow over here is also going to disappear. So this acts as a reminder whenever there is not a single unit cost assigned in this section, then you're going to get these reminders that you need to add at least one. Now I'm going to fill the first 2 rows as an example, and I'm going to show you why the order in which you add your stores is important. So I'm just going to type in some random unit costs. And if you scroll to the right, you're going to see that as soon as you start typing in unit costs, they're going to get sorted in this table over here. So you're going to see the best value at the beginning, which is in this case this one, and it belongs to farmers market. And if I scroll to the right, then you're going to see the second best value, third, and fourth. Let's take a look at this second row over here. And this is why the order in which you add the stores is important. So if you take a look at this item, shampoo, you're going to see that Walmart and Costco offer the same value in my example. So if I scroll to the right, you're going to see that the store that gets assigned to the best value is Walmart because it's found first on my list. So this is how it's always going to work. The store that is found first on the list is the one that is going to be assigned as the best value if the scenario arises where two stores share the same value. So before you start adding your unit costs, make sure that your stores are written in here in your preferred order, because once you start adding real unit costs, you won't be able to change the order. And I'm going to show you why. If I wanted to show Costco at the beginning, for example, you're going to see that even though I changed the name over here, the unit costs will remain where I typed them. So if I do Costco, you're going to see that this changes, and that's not allowed because you can't have duplicates, but you're going to see that this remained the same. It's not going to be moved around anywhere. So once you start adding unit costs, you can never move this. This should stay the way you added it at the beginning, and it should stay like that always. So once you start adding unit costs, make sure that you never change the order of your stores. Now, in this case, if you don't want Costco to be shown as the best value for any reason, you could make manual changes and increase or decrease 1 cent just to make sure that the one you want is shown as the best value. So in this example, they still have the same value, but if I want farmers market to be shown as the best one instead, I'm gonna increase this just by 1 cent to make them slightly different. So that's a way that you can control this, just making them slightly different, increasing 1 cent or decreasing 1 cent is going to force your preferred store to become the best value if you don't want this preferred order to be respected. So once you're sure about your order and once you add in a few items, you're going to go ahead and you're going to do the research and you're going to figure out the unit costs for each item on each store. And as I mentioned, if it's not sold in one store, then you won't add a unit cost. And this is where you're going to have to put in some work. You're going to have to do the research by either going into the store's website, finding recent receipts, or going into the actual store. And you don't have to build this all at once. You could do it one category at a time, for example, and over time you're going to have a big database that you can work with. So you can decide if you just want to fill in random costs for the example, or if you want to do the real thing, you can pause the video if you already have the template and you can go ahead and do the research and fill in costs for at least 10 items. That's going to be enough to test the spreadsheet, and preferably with different categories, so you can see how you can sort your lists using the category. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a few values. So I filled it with my unit costs, and if you scroll to the right, you're going to see every single one of your items is going to get sorted, starting with the store that offers the best value, and then the second best, third best, and so on. This is here for reference, but it's actually more useful to use this view over here. So if you want to take a look at an individual item, you can select it from this drop down, and you're going to see that all the information that you added for that item is going to be found in this table right here. So you get the item name, the category, a unit. So if I add a unit over here, you're going to see it in this table. And then you're going to see all the unit costs that you added. They're going to get sorted starting from the best value and then ending with the worst value. So if you need to take a look at an individual item, this section is great. And you can also just start typing and the dropdown is going to get filtered. And then you can use the arrows and press enter to make a quicker selection. And if you need to make any changes, you can quickly jump into that row by hovering over this go label or clicking on it. And then you can click on this blue label that appears over here. This is the cell where this item is located. So if I click here, then as you can see, my cursor moved over to this row. So it's going to happen with every item, and then you can quickly just make additional changes. for example, if I wanted to change this value, maybe lower it a bit, then you're going to see how my changes are updated over here immediately. Now, this is everything that you're going to edit in this tab. As I mentioned, make sure you start small so you don't get overwhelmed. And if you scroll all the way to the very end of the spreadsheet, and this is the last section in this tab, you're going to see that every single item in your database is going to be found in this table. So when you add items into this list, you don't have to add them in any particular order. It doesn't matter because if you scroll all the way to the end, you're going to find a sortable view. So if you need to view your list, for example, you want to see a particular category. So you can use this drop down to filter a category, personal care, for example, and then once you make your selection, you're only going to see items that belong to this category. And if I delete it, I'm going to see my entire list, and I can also sort my list by category, for example, by item name, by number. And as you can see in this section, I included the row number, the item name, the category, the unit, and then I also included the store that is assigned as the best value, this one over here. So whatever is found here is also going to be included in this table. You're going to be able to see the best unit cost. And when you sort it by unit cost, I made sure that the most expensive one was shown at the top. So you have your filters over here, and if you want to remove a filter, all you have to do is select this cell and press delete on your keyboard. And finally, you also have these links available. So if I wanted to jump into this row, for example, I either click here or hover over the go label, and then I can jump into that row in my database and make any changes if I need to. So that's everything that you're going to edit in this tab. You're going to start by creating a list of items. You're going to assign categories to them. You can customize your list of categories in this section. And then you're going to pick up to 4 stores to compare. And you're going to add unit costs for each item on each of the stores that you added, only if that item is actually sold in that store. If it's not, you can just leave it blank, and you're going to be good as long as you add at least 1 unit cost to each item. So now that we have our database, we're going to move on to using this information to create actual grocery lists. And the way this works is you're going to jump into the grocery list tab, and there's only 2 things that you're going to edit in this section. You're going to add items, and you're going to assign quantities to those items. So you can either use your drop down to make a selection, or you can start typing and use your arrows. And as you can see, this drop down was created using the elements that I added in my database. So it's very important that you only add items in here that exist in your database. So I'm going to select a few items from different categories, and I'm going to start by assigning quantities. So I'm just going to do some random numbers, and it's very important to note that if you need to use fractions, for example, if you wanted to add a half of something, it's very important that you add it as decimals. So that would look like this. If you add it as fractions, you're going to cause errors. This is going to highlight numbers are not going to make any sense. So make sure that if you need to add fractions, that you add them as decimals, or you're going to get errors. As you can see, as soon as I start adding items and assigning quantities, the basic information that I added gets pulled automatically in here. The link to that row in the database is also going to be created automatically over here. And if you scroll to the right, you're going to find the best value. So for each item that I select, what's going to happen is this section over here, the best value, is going to get pulled automatically into this table. So as you can see, you get the unit cost, and then you're going to get the total by multiplying the unit cost by the quantity that you added. So in this case, it's 2 multiplied by 1, and then you get your total, which is 2. And all of these are going to get added up, and the total is going to be shown here. So this is the best possible value that you could get for this specific grocery list according to the information that you added in your database. Of course, it's not always possible to visit multiple stores just to make sure that you get the best possible value, but this is a great number to have as a reference. And what we actually care about is if you scroll all the way to the right, and I'm going to come back to this table in a moment, but if you scroll all the way to the end, you're going to see a store comparison. So what you're seeing here is all of your 4 stores, or whatever number of stores you added, you're going to see the total for each store. So this combination of items is going to end up being this much in Walmart, this much at the farmer's market, this much at city market, and then this much at Costco. It's all random examples. And if you notice over here, you have these two columns. So this first column is meant for items that actually exist in that store because in your database you added a unit cost to them. So as you can see, Walmart doesn't have any missing items. So you're going to see in your grocery list that this section is empty. But then there's one missing item in the rest of the stores, which is going to be this one over here. So what's going to happen here is every single item that has a unit cost in this store is going to get added up here. And that's going to happen on every row. But then if there's an item that does not have a value assigned in this store, maybe because it's not sold there, then the best value available is going to get assigned and it's going to be shown in this section over here. So this way you're going to know that, yeah, I'm going to be paying $32, for example, in this store, but there is an item that I'm going to have to go find somewhere else. And if I take a look at this one, I'm not getting the best possible value, which you get the comparison over here. As you may recall, the best possible value was added up in this table and it adds up to $20. So if I scroll over here, I'm going to see that best value so I can compare it against my individual store total. So in this case, there are no missing items. This is the total. And if I were to visit multiple stores, I would save this amount of money. So you can decide if it's worth it to visit multiple stores or if it's okay to just go here and then spend this amount of money. So this table is great to help you make decisions. And then you can see a comparison of these two visually in this graph down here. So you get the total, the store total, and then you get the best value. So you can decide if it's worth it to visit multiple stores to get this value or if visiting just one is fine. And you can also take into consideration the missing items. So as you can see, the total for the missing items is also considered in this total. So all of this is going to help you quickly make a decision of where to go get this combination of items. And once you've made a decision, you're going to find this final list over here. And this is completely dynamic and it gets filled automatically as soon as you add an item. So as you can see, I'm going to add shampoo and then it was added automatically into my table. And by default, the cost that is going to get assigned and the store that is going to get assigned is the best value available. So as you can see, right now it's showing the best value by default, but I can change that. And if I jump into this store drop down over here, you can select individual stores and you're going to see how the items are assigned to that store with the corresponding unit cost, unless you did not add a unit cost in this store for a specific item, which is the case for Greek yogurt in this example. So as I mentioned, if you take a look at this row over here, I have City Market as my selection. And if you take a look, there's one missing item. So if I want to see what that item is, I can select City Market, for example, and then I can sort by store. And you're going to see that the store that is not matching my selection is highlighted in a bolder color. And the reason why this is getting assigned to Walmart is because Greek yogurt does not have a unit cost assigned to City Market in my database. As you can see, this is Greek yogurt and City Market doesn't have a value. If I add a value, then it's going to get assigned to City Market. So I'm just going to delete it. And the same thing goes for every single store that you select. If I select another store, you're going to see the total is updating, my store is updating, the unit cost is updating, and then the total is obtained by multiplying the unit cost by the quantity that I assigned, which I do over here. So if I want to change milk, for example, to 2, then the moment I changed it here, you're going to see that everything is updated accordingly throughout my automations. So in this tab, all you're going to do is add items and quantities. You're going to get a suggestion for the best store for each item, and then a final list is going to get created automatically. And you can choose to view the best value, or you can choose to view a specific store. And you're going to make your decisions based on the information found in this table right here. So once you pick a store, either best value or you pick an individual store, you decide how you want to sort it. And I made sure that when you sort by total, the highest amount is shown at the top. So once you decide how you want to view this, it's probably going to be category. Then you can make your selection. And once you're ready, you can go ahead and you can print this list. And the way, if you don't know how to do this, the way that you print a specific section in a spreadsheet, in a Google Sheets spreadsheet, is you're going to go ahead and you're going to select the section that you want to print, and then you're going to click on this print button over here. And once you do that, this is going to appear, and as you can see, my entire tab is getting shown in here. And to fix that, you're going to jump over here, and where it says current sheet, you're going to change that to selected cells. And then as you can see, this is looking weird. This is definitely not my selection. I only selected this area over here. So to fix this, I'm going to jump into this headers and footers option over here. I'm going to scroll all the way down, and you're going to make sure that these two boxes are unchecked. So the repeat frozen rows should be unchecked, and then the repeat frozen columns should be unchecked. For some reason, if you click on the checkbox, something weird happens. As you can see, I clicked here, but then this is the one that is getting updated. I don't know if that's just me. So if that's happening to you, it gets fixed by clicking on this text instead of on the checkbox. So as you can see, once I got rid of those two, I'm only seeing my selection, and you can go ahead and print it. So I'm just going to click on cancel. And whenever you're ready to start on a new grocery list, there's two things you can do. You can either delete this one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select only my item names and quantities. If you select anything else, you're going to mess up the spreadsheet. So if I just select them and press delete on my keyboard, then everything is emptied out. So that's one way to do it. And then I'm just going to bring everything back. The second thing you can do is you can actually keep multiple grocery lists at the same time. So if you want to plan maybe a few grocery lists in advance, or you want to see how much a specific meal would cost, for example, you can create multiple tabs of the grocery list. And the way you're going to do that is, as you may have noticed, there's a couple extra tabs over here, and they have little locks in them. So that means you shouldn't edit this. If you try to edit it, you're gonna get a warning. So you can just click on cancel. The reason I added this is so you would have blank originals that you can create copies from. So the way you do that is you right click on the tab name and you select the option duplicate. Once you do that, you can double click in here and you can rename your tab. So you could plan multiple weeks in advance and then create multiple copies of the grocery list tab and then just work on them and print them when you're ready. So that's available, and I'm just gonna delete them. And it's very important to note that every single grocery list that you create, every single copy of this tab is going to be connected to your one database. So you can have multiple grocery lists, but you can only have one database, and every single copy of the grocery list that you create is going to be connected to this original database. Now, I added a final tab. I called it manual list. You're probably not going to need it right away, but I wanted you to have it available in case this happens to you. So in this grocery list tab, you can only control the item name and the quantity. If you need to control the store name as well, then you're going to use the manual list instead. And as you can see over here, you also have a space to select a store, and then you can select the items and you can assign quantities. So as soon as you start making your manual selections, you're going to see that these sections over here get filled automatically with the information that you added in your database. So this is the basic information, the unit cost. The total is obtained by multiplying the quantity by the unit cost, as you can see. And then you also get the best value over here. And in this particular example, I actually assigned the best value by accident, but I'm going to change that. And as you can see, the best suggested value for apples in this case is Walmart, but my selection is City Market. And if you want to highlight the rows in which you haven't selected the best value, you're going to check this box over here. So as you can see, once I checked it, this got highlighted, my unit cost got highlighted so I can visually see the difference, and then this number got highlighted. So that highlight is going to be gone as soon as I select the best store available. And if I change this to not the best store, then this is going to get highlighted. So you can control that by checking and unchecking this box, so you can decide if you want to make this suggested changes. And again, you have a link so you can quickly jump into the database. You can make your selections manually, or you can go ahead and you can create your final list dynamically over here. And once you're ready and you just need to make a few changes, what you're going to do is you're going to select the store, the item name, and the quantity. Make sure that you only select the actual values and you're not selecting any labels or any numbers, just these three columns. Once you select them, you're going to copy them and we're going to paste them in our manual list. But we need to paste them in a special way to make sure that we don't get rid of this scratching effect by accident. The way you're going to paste it is you're going to select the first cell in which you're going to paste this range, and then you're going to right click and you're gonna jump into this option that says paste special values only. This will ensure that you're only pasting the actual text and you're not bringing with you any other formatting. So once I select this, you're gonna see that my list was pasted over here, and now I can make changes. So I can change maybe a couple items, and once you're happy with your selection, you can print this list and you can select either only this section, you can select this section as well, or you can select absolutely everything, and you're gonna follow the same process. You're gonna click on this print button right here. You're gonna select the option that says selected cells instead of current sheet. That makes sure that only your selection is shown. And once you're ready, you can click on this next button and you can print your selection. And it's very important that when you make your manual selections, you make sure that the item actually exists in your list. So for example, as you may recall, for Greek yogurt, if I jump back into the database, I did not add a unit cost for anything other than Walmart, which means that if I change this to a different store, I'm gonna get an error. You're gonna see this gets highlighted. You're gonna see this total is 0 because there's no value that I can assign in here because I did not assign a unit cost to City Market, for example. So this is what it looks like, and you'll see that some rows are missing information, and you'll know that you have to come back and make the appropriate changes. And you can also create as many copies as you need. You're gonna use this ML tab over here, which stands for manual list. So GL stands for grocery list, ML stands for manual list, and you follow the same process. You can just right click on this blank original, select the option duplicate, and then double click in here and rename it. So I included all of these features. You can use them however best fits your needs. As I mentioned, you could use them to create grocery lists in advance and see an approximate amount of how much you're going to spend. The cool thing about keeping a database is that you're going to make sure that if something changes, you're going to notice. So it's a lot of work to create the database. You can absolutely choose to only keep a database for the expensive stuff. You can come up with your own strategy so you're not overwhelmed by creating this in one day. You can take your time and then just start building it over time. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you find it useful. If you already purchased the spreadsheet, make sure to also check out the written instructions that you received with your purchase. They're found in the same PDF where you find the link to the spreadsheet. If you keep scrolling, you're going to find instructions, and it's mostly pictures, but that's also going to help you if you have additional questions. So make sure to at least glance at that file. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. I love talking to you and helping. And I'm gonna leave the link to purchase the spreadsheet in the description down below if you don't have it already. So I hope you like this. I hope you find it useful, and thank you so much for watching.